to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. And life sucks all of the time, stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to The Crazy Life, everybody. My name's Jen. I am your hostess for the evening and all of the previous evenings, except for last week because I was in Denver. Anyways, as always with me is Bryan. Hey, Bryan.
Howdy.
And we are missing Heno this week because it is a traveling month of March, I guess. He is currently in the lovely state of Michigan, visiting a variety of people. Unfortunately, he cannot record with us tonight because he's cheating on with us. I can't talk. He's cheating on us with another podcast. Yep. I'm so verklempt that he's not here with us that I can't speak. No, I'm just teasing. He's actually visiting another podcasting friends and all that good jazz. So, that being said, how was your week, Bryan?
Not too bad. It was, better than last week. I went ahead and scheduled a therapy appointment for today because tomorrow I leave for Chicago. Because we're going to me and Tony, and actually we're going to meet up with Heno and Tony's wife and Soundboard T from the that we've mentioned on Salty Language. We're all heading to C2E2 in Chicago. We're going to meet up with a bunch of other people there. So I wanted to go to another therapy session before I left, just to kind of help get my head right, I guess, before I left, So,
which is smart.
Yeah.
Which is very smart.
Yeah. And, we kind of, she helped me with, some stuff that I've been kind of fighting with in my head since last week, and a course of action for going forward, because like I mentioned last week, the medicine I'm on, it's not the right one for me. So we got kind of the next month and a half roughly planned out for kind of what we think we're going, what plan or what we're going to do. So hopefully that'll all work out well and everything. So, but first this, and this will be certainly be a test of of me, because I haven't been around a crowd this big in a long time. So,
and a crowd of people that are very interested in you, which
I don't even mean that. I just mean the mass of people just at the convention.
Oh yeah, that too. But I mean, it is something. It's one thing if you can be anonymous in a crowd.
Yeah.
It's another thing to be around a bunch of people who want your attention and who are interested in you as a person. It's wonderful. It's one of those wonderful things in life that can cause some anxiety.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you just want to have that peace and quiet, but people want to spend time with you, so which is a good thing.
Yeah.
It just butts up against the mental illness, basically.
Yeah, it's, there's a lot to it. Is, part of the reason we're going is to, maybe talk with creators to see if we can get them to, be on the podcast for a little bit and stuff. And, So this isn't the same as just emailing them or hitting them up on Twitter. This is face to face, walking up to them and this is cold calling in the hardest form, because.
Do you guys have cards
Yes.
that you can give them?
Yep.
That's good.
So, it's just still, this is not my natural environment, to do it this way. I'm much more comfortable doing it, emailing or using Twitter to ask someone to be on the show. But, there's a few creators, that, a couple that we've had on the show that, if they're there, we may, we can stop and be like, hey, we were the guys you talked to on whatever. And, that kind of thing. So I think that'd be kind of cool.
It's
plus,
gonna be very cool.
Yeah, and so I don't know. We don't have a real we don't have a real tight plan down because that's not really how me and Tony work. But we'll probably strategize a little bit more than we have to this point, so that we have something. Because otherwise we'll just walk around and be like, I don't know, and then be done.
Right. You got to have some plan.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Yeah, and put Soundboard T out as your hype man.
No, he doesn't have a pass to the convention, so.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
Unless Henno wants to be our hype man or something.
There you go. Unless Henno is your hype man. He'd be a good hype man.
Yeah, we'll just, get him a Flavor Flav clock and have him yelling out, yeah, boy, behind us all the time.
Right. See, you guys need to wear your salty language t-shirts and stuff, too.
Yeah. We probably will be. But
there you go.
Yeah, it's, like I said, I'm excited for it, but it's also, again, I'm really nervous. But again, once I'm in the environment, it'll be an up and down, I'm sure, because I'll be excited and comfortable, but yet at the same time I'll be incredibly uncomfortable just because it's a crowd, and I just don't do well in crowds anymore.
Oh no, I completely understand.
Yeah.
It's interesting, the whole dynamic of crowd. I mean, we've talked about it before and how we handle it, our different things that we do, but definitely I think you've set yourself up for success as best as you can for this.
Yeah.
Because I know that you've been going through the different steps, and enlisting people and to help you during the tough times that are going to come up during the whole weekend. Making sure everybody understands the ground rules and what you're going through. So I think that you've done everything you can do. You've got your doctors on your side helping you out and advising you. So
yep,
it's going to be good. And I look forward to hearing, and I'm sure the audience does as well, looks forward to hearing the results.
Yeah.
Next week, how things turn out for you.
Yeah. The only real downside is I found out that I won't be able to get back into my therapist for it's going to be a month.
Ugh.
Because of another therapist at the same place is moving to another office. So a lot of the patients are being moved to my therapist. So basically her schedule filled up and the only opening she has is pretty much a month. I mean, it's almost a month from now.
Wow.
So yeah, that certainly stinks because, coming off of this and whatnot, but
yeah,
I can't do a whole lot about it unless if it's something drastic, I can, because, I can call and, and I may call at some point and just see if there's been a canceling and see if there's any chance I can move up or something. But because that does happen sometimes. But anyway, so how was your Denver trip?
It was a lot of fun. I had a great time. It's always wonderful to see my best friend, because that's why I go to Denver.
Right.
And she just is very calming for me and is just a great source of just, we have fun together, but she gets me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really nice. I mean, because you have friends like this as well.
Yeah.
It's nice to be around those people who get the unspokens,
Yeah.
and stuff. So it was really nice. I had a good portion of downtime, which was exactly what I needed and stuff. I've met some new people, which was fun. Some really wonderful friends of hers. We played some cards. I went and saw the Natural Museum of Science and History in Denver, which is a really, really great see. So if you're ever in the area, it's definitely worth going. The exhibits are beautifully put together, and the vignettes they did with the animals and stuff like that. I mean, they even had it down to there was butterflies and bees on the flowers in an exhibit about, mammals and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
it was it was really cool. I mean, they put little fake poop in with some of the animals. And just little things like that, the more you looked at them, the more things you saw. The little stuff that you saw. It was it was very well done.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that was fun. And then I got talk about anxiety. She had to work during the day, a couple of the days I was there. And so I borrowed her car. And thankfully nothing happened. Everything went well and stuff. But it was just a different vehicle and a much smaller vehicle. And, and still, whenever you're borrowing someone's vehicle like that, there is anxiety to it, and driving around in a strange city. So
yeah,
that was interesting. I also worked on my registries. I've got some registries going, and which is again awesome. But a lot of anxiety.
yeah,
Just a lot of anxiety lately, which has been interesting, kind of working through it and stuff. And but all good things, like we've talked about before and stuff. It's like all this is great and good and wonderful things. The anxiety is just always going to be there.
Yeah, well, some anxieties are good anxieties, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of the anxiety I'm having for this trip is good.
Yes.
It's kind of like you've heard, like some comedians will talk about how, they're nervous before every performance, or athletes will, like, oh, I'm nervous, or I get, some of them are like, I go get sick before every time I play because
Mm-hmm.
I'm so anxious. And it's like, they're like, if I didn't do that, like that's how they know they're still passionate about it, because they're still so amped about it that they,
Yeah.
So, and plus, just as anxiety is there to help us, when it comes to a fight or flight situations and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, there is obviously, there's reasons it's there, and it's good to have it sometimes, like with, like I said, with me this coming weekend, it's good that I have some of it. Some of it isn't, like when I talked to the therapist I was telling her about how, and you've seen me do this, like I'm packing for a trip. I'll write down everything I want to take,
Mm-hmm.
and I won't be able to sleep the night before because I'm too afraid I'll forget something. Like I'll still be running through in my head. I'll be double checking, triple checking. I'll still be looking around, making sure I didn't forget something. And in all the years of me traveling and doing stuff, the worst thing I've ever forgotten was the year I went to Gen Con and I didn't take socks.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing I've ever forgotten.
Right, and that's nothing in comparison of the rest.
Yeah, you stop, and a pack of socks is what, $6 or $8, whatever it is, and I bought a pack of socks. I mean, that's the worst I've ever had. And it's like, so why am I getting so anxious about that? You know what I mean? And she was like, yeah, exactly. She's like, and I'm like, maybe I'm afraid that if I ease up, then I'll start forgetting more frequently or something. I don't know, but you know, like I do this. I've done this so many times that it's second nature almost.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like for this trip, the worst thing I could forget would be something, some of the podcasting equipment I'm going to take or something. But even then, there's so many other guys that in our group that podcast that are all taking recording stuff. Somebody would cover me, so
Yeah.
it's like there's no reason to worry about that. Yet all my head's just racing. Like, don't forget this, don't forget that. Oh, don't forget, and I have like a 2-page list of stuff and, and I keep adding to it. It's just ridiculous anxiety. I shouldn't have that anxiety.
Right. But I agree with you, and it's I have the same stressors in different ways,
Mm-hmm.
And it's very interesting. The whole purpose of the show, it's living life with these mental illnesses.
Mm-hmm.
It's how do you function? How do you work around them? Because they're not going anywhere. We're stuck with them. So it's, you got to live with them. So how do you live with them? How do you figure this out? How do you make things, especially when you're dealing with newer situations, stuff that you've not really dealt with before, or revisiting situations from a different part of your life that have been easier in the past, but no longer easy for you.
Yeah.
It's just, it's different. Oh, and a bit of a funny note, I have a random bruise. I have no idea how this happened, but I have a fist-size, round, almost perfectly round bruise on my bottom.
Okay.
That I picked up from the trip. Have no idea where it came from. No idea what could have caused it, because it is perfectly round.
That's really weird.
It is really, really weird. So, folks, as the random funny note of the entire weekend, yeah. So funny that my fiance actually reached out to my best friend and said, what did you do? How did you break my fiance? She's like, I don't know.
That's really weird if it's that it's perfectly round, because usually, that's not how it happens. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like it's like perfectly round, about the size of a palm on my bottom. But nobody's touched my bottom or come near my bottom the entire weekend.
Did you sit on something at some point?
That's the only
maybe?
thing I can think of, is that I must have.
Yeah.
But who knows what? And you would think that I would have jumped right up, because something that big must have been uncomfortable.
You would think so. If it's deep, if it's going to cause a bruise, you would think it would have been uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yeah, one would think, right? The randomness. I have no idea. So,
all right.
Yes. So now it's becoming quite the joke that I end up with random bruises when I go visit my friend.
Yeah. Well, you've always been kind of a random bruise person, so I don't know how many times you've just been like, I don't know where that came from, and have a bruise on your arm or leg. So it's, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the best part is they're never, the random ones are never just a light bruise.
No.
They're always like these deep, dark, purple, black ones.
Right.
So it's like something major must have caused that, but I have no recollection what could have caused it.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
that's the weirdest part, is that you'd think for most people, you see a real dark bruise or something, you're like, oh man, you must have really, hit your hand hard or something. And like with you, it'd be like, I don't even know. It's just there.
Right.
Like, okay.
Because I had no idea it was there until my fiance saw it. Yeah, as soon as when he saw it, he's like, "What is that?"
Yeah,
like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, because that's it's a large bruise.
Kind of random and weird and odd. So
yeah,
who knows?
All right,
but I'm not going to be anxious about it. I'm not going to worry about it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, meh.
Not much. Not much you can do about it anyway. So yeah, you might as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Again, only worry about what you can change, right?
Exactly. So that being said, I guess it's a good time for us to move on to our topic today. And since we both have been dealing with a lot of anxiety in the late, so I thought it would be good for us to talk about homeopathic anxiety things. So there are a bunch of articles about natural remedies and natural things that you can do to assist with anxiety, the good anxieties and the bad anxieties. I will say before we get too far into this that the stuff we're going to be focusing on is not in the supplement form. When you're dealing with supplements, please be very, very careful.
Yeah.
Because as we spoke about before, one, you don't want to be self-diagnosing.
Mm-hmm.
And two, there's a lot of things that are in supplements that are listed as homeopathic and that are natural, but can have bad side effects.
Yeah, and honestly, some of them can have reactions with medicine too. So
Yes.
Do your due diligence, but again, don't self-diagnose, and you really shouldn't self-medicate. We're not necessarily advocating that. We're just, these are some things that you can do along with the other stuff. So.
Exactly, and this is just these are like nice, light, little things that you can do to assist in traditional everyday anxieties and things like that. If you are already on medicine, make sure you talk to your doctor, like you were just saying.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure that there's no bad interactions or anything. But
Right.
most of this stuff is fairly benign as far as that's concerned. I was really trying to focus on just the real basic stuff that's in our everyday diets that can really help.
Right.
So the first thing that pops up when you search any of this is chamomile. Now, the chamomile tea has been used for centuries as a way to calm down. Chamomile tea has, some compounds in chamomile tea bind to the same brain receptors as drugs like Valium. So that's why it works. You can also take it as a supplement, but just be careful because there could be other things in with the chamomile that can cause issues, along with dried chamomile flowers. In a study, University of Pennsylvania Medical Center in Philadelphia, patients with generalized anxiety disorders who took chamomile supplements for 8 weeks had a significant decrease in anxiety symptoms compared to patients taking a placebo. So definitely, if you're a tea drinker, maybe switch from coffee over to chamomile because it seems to be a good thing.
Yeah, especially, a lot of people I think tend to use it, later at night as their before bed tea, or their, 6, 7 o'clock at night kind of type tea. So, yeah.
And just as a side note, everybody, if you do hear that noise in the background, I don't know if my phone's picking it up or not, but my cat decided to be on my lap and is purring fairly loudly. So if you get a rhythmic purr happening in the background, that would be Max trying to calm us all down.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of...
Speaking of calming, he's adding his touch to the show.
Right.
Potentially. I don't know if it's being picked up or not. But the next thing that they talk about is green tea. So there's a ton of stuff in green tea that has been proven to be very good for you. Now, something that is not so good for you is sugar. So with the chamomile as well as the green tea, it is fabulous to drink these because they do wonderful things for you. But if you load them with sugar, it will take away not really take away, because the same good stuff's going to be there. You're just getting a bunch of bad stuff with it at the same time.
Yeah. The other thing would be like with green teas, by green tea, they're meaning like actual tea, not like, I don't want to use a name brand, but like big name brand that comes in bottles. green tea. They're meaning more like a hot tea where you use the bag or something more along those lines, where you're at least getting, actual tea. Like where your ingredient list is really simple and like Jen just said, low in sugar, and, probably low to no caffeine, kind of stuff if possible. Because obviously caffeine and anxiety don't play well together.
Exactly. Just make sure that you know what you're getting is, I think, the big underlining for a lot of this stuff that we're going to talk about today. For green tea, it has L-theanine, Theanine. They say that Japanese Buddhist monks could meditate for hours, both alert and relaxed. One reason may have been an amino acid in their green tea called L-theanine, says Mark Blumenthal of the American Botanical Council. Research shows that L-theanine helps curb a rising heart rate and blood pressure, and a few small human studies have found that it reduces anxiety. In one study, anxiety-prone subjects were calmer and more focused during tests. They took 200 milligrams of L-theanine beforehand. You can get that much from green tea, but you have to drink many cups, as few as 5, as many as 20. So, it's good, but you do have to drink a lot of it.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
That's an awful lot.
That is an awful lot.
Yeah.
Woohoo! The next one is hops. Yay! Hops, yes, it's in beer, but you won't get the tranquilizing benefits of the bitter herb hops from a brew. Boo!
Not unless you drink a lot, enough to pass you out.
That's not cool.
Yeah, we're not advocating that.
No, it's not cool that they put hops on here and they're saying don't drink it in beer.
Yeah.
That's why I was booing.
Right.
Boo. Oh, well. All right. The sedative compound in hops is a volatile oil, so you get it in extracts and tinctures as the aromatherapy in hops pillows. So it's very bitter, so you don't see it in tea much unless combined with chamomile or mint. Hops is often used as a sedative to promote sleep, often with another herb, valerian. Note, don't take sedative herbs if you're taking a prescription tranquilizer or sedative, and let your doctor know of any supplements you're taking.
Right, and again, same with, you have to be careful with some antidepressants because some of them have a drowsy effect to them, so you may not want to pair them because it may cause extra drowsiness or whatever. So again, that's why we said, talk to your doctor about some things before you or if you notice you're doing this and you're really, really drowsy all the time, this would be a good place to start.
Exactly. And the same thing with this next one, valerian, Valerian. It is supposed to reduce anxiety, but it is also a sedative. So you have to be very, very, very cognizant of when you're taking it, how much you're taking of it, and you want to make sure that your doctor knows what's going on so that they can make sure that there's no bad interactions and that your body isn't going to have some sensitivities to it. So it is a sleep aid for insomnia. It contains a sedative compounds. The German government has approved it as a treatment for sleep problems. Now, valerian smells kind of nasty, so most people take it as a capsule or a tincture rather than a tea. If you want to try, take it in the evening, not before you go to work. Valerian is often combined with other sedative herbs such as hops, chamomile, and lemon balm. Next, shocker of shockers, is lemon balm. They just mentioned it.
Yep.
Let me bring it up. There we go. Lemon balm, named after the Greek word for honeybee. Lemon balm has been used at least since the Middle Ages to reduce stress and anxiety and to help with sleep. In one study of healthy volunteers, those who took standardized lemon balm extracts were more calm and alert than those who took a placebo. While it's generally safe, be aware that some studies have found that taking too much can actually make you more anxious. So, good note on that one.
Yeah, again, yeah, it's why you got to be careful with a lot of this stuff because, it's really tough to test, because you don't know how it's going to affect you and this kind of stuff. So yeah, that's why it's important to mention it to, your doctor and stuff before you take it.
Exactly. Lemon balm is sold as a tea, a capsule, and a tincture. It is often combined with other calming herbs such as hops, chamomile, and valerian. Now, the next one, exercise. Yeah, there's so many good things about exercise. I just don't like sweating.
Yep.
And no matter how I look at it, I still have to sweat when I exercise.
Yep.
I know. The hardships of life, right? You
Yeah.
gotta just bite the bullet. So, exercise is safe, good for the brain, and powerful antidote to depression, anxiety, both immediately and in the long term. If you exercise on a regular basis, you'll have more self-esteem and feel healthier. Well, I mean, you can't argue it.
Yeah, I mean, it is, it's one of the first things they tell people with, depression, anxiety and stuff. It's a mood enhancer. And,
Yeah.
if you have anxiety, it's a way to work off some of the energy. If you're having trouble sleeping, it generally will make you more tired because you've exhausted yourself a bit. So it can kind of help with all of those, things. But the problem is that, you still have to go do it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that in most cases, doctors will be 100% for you doing it.
Yeah.
So.
But even still, talk to your doctor before you start any exercise regimen.
You sound like the beginning of any one of those.
There's a reason that those are there, though, because you should get some sort of a physical to make sure that you're not going to start something that's too intense for you.
True, absolutely. The next one is the 21-minute cure. Guess what? Exercise again. It was so good they put it on here twice. No, they're saying that 21 minutes is the key for exercise and anxiety reduction. So you got 20 to 30 minutes on the treadmill or any sort of exercise that increases your heart rate. You will reduce anxiety and your stress. So. Next one is the passion flower. Oh, pretty flower. All right. In spite of the name, this herb will not help you in love. It's a sedative, another sedative. German government has approved it for nervous restlessness. Some studies find that it can reduce symptoms of anxiety as effectively as prescription drugs, and it's often used for insomnia. Yeah. So. You got to make sure that you are very careful with the sedative herbs and do not use more than one at a time.
Yeah, the sedative stuff, especially of the things that you've mentioned so far, I would put the biggest exclamation points near to talk to your doctor. One of the medicines I'm on, a woman was on a low dose of it. I was reading online because I was reading about some stuff about it, and a woman online said she took like cold medicine, that happens to be one that can make you drowsy, and she ended up unconscious on the floor, so you have to be really careful if you're on anything that can make you drowsy and combine it with any sort of a sedative because, you could go too far. And also, if you're a person who drinks anything that's a sedative, you have to be extremely careful of mixing those kind of things. And, so like I said, those are the things I would be extremely careful about.
Yes, absolutely. Now, the next one is lavender. Lavender is actually been found to be very beneficial in a variety of different ways. It's also very pleasant. So there's tons of candles and aromatherapy having to do with lavender. In one study, Greek dental patients were less anxious in the waiting room when it was scented with lavender oil. In a Florida study, students who inhaled lavender oil scent before an exam had less anxiety, although some students said it made their minds fuzzy during the test. Now, yeah, and which I think is very interesting.
Yeah.
So, in one German study, a specially formulated lavender pill, not available in the United States, was shown to reduce anxiety symptoms in people with generalized anxiety disorder as effectively as lorazepam, that's the brand name is Ativan, and anti-anxiety medicine in the same class as Valium. Interesting. The next one, hold your breath. All right. Okay, let it out now. We're not recommending that you turn blue, but yoga breathing has been shown to be an effective way to lower stress and anxiety. One reason it works is that you can't breathe deeply and be anxious at the same time. To do the 4-7-8 breath, exhale completely through your mouth, then inhale through your nose for a count of 4. Hold your breath for a count of 7. Now let it out slowly through your mouth for a count of 8. Repeat that at least twice a day.
Interesting.
Yeah. Now, we've talked about breathing and how important it is. I mean, shoot, I end the podcast with keep breathing.
Yeah.
So, we're huge proponents of the whole deep breathing techniques and stuff. So I think that's a great one. Now, eat something quickly. Almost universally, people get more anxious and irritable when they're hungry. When you get an anxiety attack, it may mean your blood sugar is dropping. Best thing to do is have a quick sustaining snack like a handful of walnuts or a piece of dark chocolate along with a glass of water or a nice cup of hot tea. So, chocolate is my anxiety cure. I like it.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you're like, I ate 12 candy bars today. I was really anxious, I swear.
It was such an anxiety-driven day, my candy is gone. All right. Eat breakfast. Stop starving yourself, advises Dr. Ramsey. Many people with anxiety disorder skip breakfast. Now, do you eat breakfast, Bryan?
I sleep weird hours, so I not really.
Right.
I mean, I eat when I get up, but I don't eat like traditional breakfast unless I happen to be up at that time of day.
Gotcha. Yeah, they recommend eggs.
Right.
Which I know are not your favorite food.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
But definitely don't skip a meal is I think what they're trying to say.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. It's, yeah. Yeah, if you're up if you get up at, say, 6 o'clock every day, don't wait until noon to eat, kind of a thing. Yeah.
So, omega-3s. So, we've learned that fish oils are good for the heart and perhaps protect against depression. Add anxiety to the list. In one study, students who took 2.5 milligrams a day of mixed omega-3 fatty acids for 12 weeks had less anxiety before an exam than students taking a placebo. Now, I will say about omega-3s, I've had good omega-3 vitamins and I've had bad omega-3 vitamins. The bad ones make you burp fish.
Yeah.
Which is not pleasant. For you or anyone else around you, honestly.
There are other ways to get omega-3 too. Like, there are foods you can eat to get omega-3 too. So
absolutely, absolutely. So you don't have to take the little pills.
Right.
But yeah, just as a warning, make sure that you find a pill that works best for you.
Right.
Or just eat a lot of salmon. Yum. All right, stop catastrophizing. When you're attacked by anxiety, it's easy to get into a mindset known as catastrophic thinking or catastrophizing. Your mind goes through the bad, terrible, really horrible, just unbearable things, and what if they really do happen? You think this could really ruin my life, says Dr. Ramsey. Instead, take a few deep breaths, walk around the block, and consider the real probability that this problem will spin out into a catastrophe. How unlikely is it that you'll lose your job, never talk to your sister again, or go bankrupt? So,
Yeah.
makes sense. Try
Right.
to keep things in perspective.
Yeah, that kind of goes back to the, the distorted thinking that we talked about a while ago.
Absolutely.
That when you feel that you're going into a, worst case scenario, it's, look at the situation, try to peel away everything that's not fact, and then assess and go, well, what is absolutely the worst thing that's going to happen or could happen? And, I honestly even look at, my packing anxiety. What's the worst thing I could forget?
Exactly. I mean, it just...
And what's going to happen? I'll still be fine. So.
Exactly. Now, the next one is get hot. So, ever wonder why you feel so relaxed after a spell in the sauna or steam room? Heating up your body reduces muscle tension and anxiety, research finds. Sensations of warmth may alter neural circuits that control mood, including those that affect the neurotransmitter serotonin. Warming up may be one of the ways that exercise, not to mention curling up by a fire with a cozy cup of tea, boosts your mood.
Now, see, the warmer I get, the more anxious I get.
Yeah.
I get really anxious when I get warm.
I think this one is a person by person.
Yeah.
I can't, because I'm less anxious when I'm warm, unless it's like I'm hot, like I'm outside and I'm hot.
Yeah.
So it's like it's situational for me.
Yeah, because I mean, even if I'm in bed, if I get warm, I get anxious and then I can't sleep. So it's the same idea. Like even through the day though, my anxiety usually runs at a higher level, like when I'm warmer. So that's why I said I'm that way. So I don't know. That's just me, I guess.
Well, yeah, I think it's very situational and very dependent upon the person.
Yeah.
The next one they have is take a forest bath. So, you and I know this as a walk in the woods. Japanese researchers measured body changes in people who walked for about 20 minutes in a beautiful forest with the woodsy smells and the sound of running streams. The forest bathers had lower stress hormone levels after their walk than they did after comparable walk in an urban area.
Okay, there's really no reason to call that a forest bath. You can just say a walk in the forest.
Well, the Japanese call it Shinshin Yokyu.
Okay.
Which that's the translation.
All right.
So that's where they're getting the forest bath from. But I'm with you.
Yeah.
Let's call it a walk in the woods.
Yeah, it's a walk in the woods. There's no reason to perfume that up. It's a walk in the woods.
Right.
Yeah, I could see where that would, because, it's no different than having, those sound machines, that give off just, nature sounds or whatever. It's the same idea, basically, except this gives you smells, too. So, between the two, I could see it. It's essentially distracting you from the anxiety.
Yeah, exactly. And lowering your blood pressure, which high blood pressure leads to anxiety.
Right.
They're linked together. Now, the next one is mindfulness meditation.
Yeah.
So, which meditation is always good. Your breathing, as well as focusing on the moment and not letting your brain go in different directions. It's a very, very good idea.
Yeah, and honestly, I've been reading, so many things that pop up that it's like, do you have this? Have you tried mindful meditation? It seems to be something that I think Heno and I were talking about it after we recorded within the last few weeks about how, it reminded me in a lot of ways, how we became such an energy drink society that now there are go to sleep drinks, to help you calm down so you can go to sleep. And I think essentially meditation is catching on so much because everybody is go, 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 you know, so now meditation
True.
is there to help balance that mindset, you know. It's basically a stick in the spokes so that the wheel stops and then you can go to sleep or relax, you know. And so many people talk about it and need it because, you know, some people, that's their only real time that's their me time. You know, and that's all they really take for themselves a day is their meditation time. Whether it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, whatever it ends up being, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, but there's a lot of apps out there for phones and stuff. If you know, if anyone listening is not aware of that, there's quite a few. I have one on my phone I haven't used yet that was recommended. I can't remember what podcast I was listening to, but it was recommended. It's called Sativa, or I'm sorry, Sattva, Sattva. That was pretty highly recommended, and I know there's quite a few that have pretty good ratings on them. And they're supposed to help with mindful meditation and such for like beginners. So if you don't,
that's interesting.
Yeah, if you don't know any, you know, just look around on your app store or, you know, whatever device you have, you know, whatever store they have.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, use all the tools that you have at your fingertips. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, and again, I mean, you know, if you have it on your phone and you're in a stressful situation somewhere, if you can slip away for a few minutes, you could pull that up on your phone, you know, to help you maybe recenter in your car or something like that, you know, on your lunch hour if you're, you know, sitting in your car or at your desk or something, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's always places. It's one nice thing about meditation is that you can always find a place to do it.
Yeah.
If you're looking for it, you'll find it.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like yoga where you have to have room to do it. You know, you just need a place to just be for meditation, you know. Mm-hmm. You can go lock yourself in the stall in a bathroom and, you know,
and meditate.
Yeah.
It may not be the most tranquil
No,
spot,
but yeah, you know.
It could work.
Yep.
Now, another article I was reading had a little bit of a different take than this one did. They mention taking a bath with Epsom salts.
Yep, I've heard that for years.
Yeah, Epsom salts is really good for you.
That's the one I always used to hear when people would do like kind of hard labor, you know, like people, their feet would hurt or whatever. They'd come home and they'd soak in a tub of Epsom salts.
Yep, absolutely. And they recommend, you know, adding lavender or vanilla essential oils to it to help because you get the benefit of the calming smells. Now, something that I'm going to struggle with, and I know I need to start doing this, is getting rid of caffeine.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned that earlier, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to get rid of my caffeine. I love my coffee.
Yep, I know. I've cut myself down I'm still drinking a can of pop a day, but I've been trying to even cut that out, or down at least.
Yep. So. Now, caffeine, alcohol, and added sugars all have been shown to increase anxiety.
Yep.
So.
Also, I'm also cutting caffeine down because it's a migraine trigger.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's really something I've needed to get rid of. Plus, really, there's just no benefit to drinking pop, you know. So,
no.
At least with coffee, there's some health benefits to coffee, you know, as long as you're not drinking milkshakes that you're pretending are coffee, you know.
Right.
But, you know, pop, there's just no benefit to it. So it's just something I need to just stop drinking.
Now, another one they said, blueberries and peaches, whole grains,
right,
and oats, avocados, eggs, milk, and meats. Foods rich in vitamin C like oranges, omega-3 fatty acids, and magnesium-rich foods like spinach and dark leafy greens.
Right. This kind of goes into what we were talking about a couple weeks ago. You know, that really eating a a proper diet is much better for your, your overall mental health.
Exactly. So it's just, the more you read up on it, the more sense it makes to lead a healthy, healthy diet.
Yeah.
And start cutting out all of this junk that are put into our foods. It's tasty junk, but it's still junk.
Yeah.
In the last article, I'm going to read through it real quick here. Their tips, and they're saying laugh it off, because laughter is a natural relaxer.
Mm-hmm.
Schedule your relaxation, which we talked about doing meditation. They recommend a supplement, which I'm not going to mention because I don't really feel like supplements are the way to go. Lavender again. Ground yourself. When anxiety hits, do something tangible.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So take your house keys out, run your fingers along the keys. The sensation will give you grounding.
Mm-hmm.
Pick up a paperweight, hold it in your hand, or get an ice cube. Hold it as long as you can. My trick with the toes.
Yep.
Wiggle, 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 folks.
Yeah. Grounding is something that a lot of people have to use, when they have, when they experience dissociation and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Or basically an out-of-body kind of situation sometimes. Or people who, some people with, like PTSD, have, or honestly, just anybody who has a nightmare. Like if you wake up from a nightmare and you're kind of, like those ones where you feel like it's a real situation, it's a great technique to kind of help you realize it's not real, type of a thing, which is something I've kind of had to use because of the medicine I'm on. It's been giving me those kind of nightmares. So they're very lucid nightmares. I'm waking up and like looking around and almost startled, like if it were in a movie or a TV show, I would wake up screaming, even though, you can't do that. But
right.
I would do that if, that, like I said, if it was TV or movie, that's how I would wake up, like,
Right. Now, the next one, it says, face the fear. If something makes you scared, face it. If you feel shy, go out for social functions. Scared of clowns, go to the circus.
Yeah. I mean,
I can see that.
Depending on your level of fear, yeah, you may have to baby step your way through it or
do
small things at a time. But yeah, there is something to be said about that. It's what a lot of people do, fear of heights. They go jump off a bridge, a bungee jump or something, and try to get over, or they jump out of a plane, and try to get over it that way, or force themselves on roller coasters or something, and then after they do it, they're just like, yeah, I don't have a fear anymore. But I don't know, something like clowns, I don't know how you get over that one. I'm sure there's techniques, I just don't know what they are,
Exactly. That's a pretty heavy duty one for a lot of people.
Yeah. I'm sure there's more to it than just sitting in sitting in the crowd at a circus and seeing them. I'm sure there's probably more to it to get over that fully.
Oh, I'm sure it's got to be a lot more than that.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a good point though. A lot of fears, if you should try to face them, and if you can. I mean, obviously, if you're afraid of sharks, you shouldn't jump into a shark tank. That's probably not a good career move, but
Exactly. And it's all about knowing your boundaries and finding the right balance, and and also suiting your lifestyle.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and sometimes, like with some of this stuff, sometimes it's just it's also realizing that you need to change your lifestyle. Whether it's eating or a stress level, some people can't change their stress level. Some people can, and a lot of times people have stress levels on them that they feel are heavier than they truly are. Kind of a thing, like there's a lot of people that are always busy, but really aren't that busy. Like
they just feel like they're always busy.
Yeah, it's one of those kind of things, but it's hard to get that perspective, so it's your perception of it. And your perception says I'm busy all the time. So you carry stress like a person who's busy all the time. But if you could somehow sit down and analyze your day, you might go, oh, actually,
Yeah, I mean, perception is just very, very strong.
Mhm.
It just is. What we perceive is becoming our reality. There's a phrase that says perception's 9/10 of the situation.
Yeah.
And it really, really is. So just, make sure that you are, using perspective, I think makes a big difference.
Right.
So, well, with that being said, I think we're getting close to wrapping up time. So I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on this. If there's something that you use that you find very beneficial, let us know so we can share it with others as well. You can reach me on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life, and that's Jen with a G. You can also reach the show, thecrazylifepodcast.weebly.com. You can also shoot us an email at thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com. And you, Bryan, how can they reach you?
They can also reach or follow the show podcast where I post like the new episodes at the Crazy Life Pod on Twitter. They can follow Heno on Twitter at IdaHeno. If you want to check out Heno's music that he's done for other podcasts and stuff, you can go over to SoundCloud and check him out on, just type in Monkey Tongue Productions and his music will come up on there. Or there's links in the show notes. Or if you need one, contact him or me or Jen, somebody, we can get them to you. You can contact me on Twitter at Stunami. You can follow my other show, Salty Language, at salty_language on Twitter, or you can just go to saltylanguage.com. You can also find us as part of the Tangent Bound Network and the Wicked Radio Network. So, go check those out. There's a bunch of good shows on both of those networks, and, there's a lot of good people involved doing good work, trying to get promotions going there. And also, if you're looking for a new podcast, maybe if you're on Twitter, check out hashtag Podern Family. There's a lot of indie podcasts kind of helping each other out to do promotions and stuff on there. Or you can just go to @Podern Family on Twitter, and there's a lot of they do a bunch of retweets and stuff. And then also, as always, I'll remind you that we're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind, just a couple of people sharing our journeys and, trying to pass along some tips that may help. And of course, we want to remind you, the show is not a replacement for therapy or anything of that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And please don't self-diagnose. Please don't self-treat. If you feel you need help, go to a doctor, get a course of action with your doctor, and, go along that way, because, I tried it for years just doing it myself. And basically what I ended up doing was fighting depression for 20 plus years, thinking I was winning and not realizing that all I was doing was just losing for 20 some years. So, right. Don't do this on your own. And of course, if you're having suicidal thoughts, please contact the suicide hotline number. Or call a friend, have them take you to a hospital, or call 911, tell them you're having a mental health emergency. Mm-hmm. Just please don't be alone. Because, that's what the disease wants, or the illness wants. It wants you to be isolated. It wants you to be alone, and it wants you to give in. So don't let it win, and keep fighting.
Absolutely. Each and every one of you is special, and each and every one of you is valuable. So never, ever, ever forget that. And always, as always, every moment, every day, keep breathing, everybody. And we'll be here next week.